Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and just good day to all of you joining in. Thank you so much for joining our live listening session. I'm super excited to be here. I love these times with the Beat Academy members because not only do I get to hear some of your incredible music, I learn and I grow, but we are all growing together by just sharing some of the struggles that we're all struggling with our music production, and allowing me to just come alongside you and help you take that next step forward. So let me just make sure that you guys can see me and hear me okay. Just doing a little bit of house keeping here. So Dave M, Faded Elevation, good to see you. Jo, good to see you guys. Thank you for joining us. So if you're joining us and you're just passing on through YouTube and you're asking, how do I get to submit my music so that my music can be heard and given some feedback? This is the one of the benefits of becoming a Beat Academy member. So I would encourage you to visit beatacademy.com. The message should be pinned in the chat, or you can just visit www.beatacademy.com, get more information, and try out Beat Academy. Go ahead, try it out for free for a month and see if it's a good fit. See if it's going to be able to help you reach some of your music production goals. So today we're going to be public, so there's going to be a couple people joining us from YouTube, and we're totally going to welcome that. So if that's you, then welcome. Super excited that you're here. Normally what we do is a couple times a month, I will listen to my Beat Academy members' music, give them my feedback, and seeing how we can all grow as a community in helping one another achieve their music production goals. Sound good? All right, so if this is something that you're interested in doing, or this is something like, man, I could really use the mentorship, I could use the help, then I would encourage you, visit beatacademy.com, check it out, and honestly, if it's not helping you, then no questions asked, let us know, and we'll take care of you. Okay, let's hit the ground running. We've got some great music today. We've got the Octopus Milk ready, and we're gonna hit the ground running. So we're gonna start off with number 12. This is Dot Jam. And let's check this out.
Oh baby, wanna give you all the love you need, day and night. Oh baby, don't know where this love affair will lead. Hold on tight, hold on to a new beginning, hold on to the love you're missing, hold on tight, hold on to a new beginning, hold on to the love you're missing, hold on tight. Oh baby, I've been waiting for you all my life, day and night. Oh baby, when I'm with you I feel so alive. Hold me tight, I've been saving all my love for you, day and night. I'm hoping that you feel the same way too.
So, all right. So Dot Jam, not sure if you're here, but if you're watching the replay, it's solid. There's a lot of potential. I noticed this is a collab with Dave Z, another Beat Academy member, and Dave's just grown so much in his production since being here. I think all around there's a lot of great potential here. And so one thing we have to consider is that so two things, and be careful that when you're doubling your vocal, especially your lead vocal. So when we're talking about recording multiple takes unison that are kind of mirroring one another, when you're doubling your lead vocal, you got to be careful with the timing, because if something's slightly off, it's noticeable, especially in the lead. So what gives a bigger contrast when choruses come in and there's doubled vocals, background vocals to support that, what gives a big contrast is that there's been one single lead vocal and then those double vocals come in the chorus, and it just makes it feel a lot louder. I'm not saying that you have to strip away that second vocal double for the lead. Maybe just tuck it down and watch the overall timing so that there are not moments where, it falls off. It can be a little tighter. You're almost going for a chorusy type of effect more so than just trying to make it larger than life. So that was my first thing that was one thing that just initially jumped out at me. Another thing too, I think it's not so much your delivery or performance. I think it's good. I think the overall timbre of what you're doing is good. I think what we need to start working on now is just the overall melodic phrasing. Like, I thought it was good, but it wasn't great, right? Maybe if I was scaling it from 1 to 10, I thought maybe it was like a 5, and we want to know, how do we go from a 5 to a 10? And I think one thing that can really help is, understanding like the melody. Now, like take a Dua Lipa track, where I think that's a real big influence in the reference that, Dave Z, the instrumental, is coming from. It's, so let's say you have the melody going, baby, solid verses. And the verses are actually so solid that when we get to the chorus, hold on, it's this, it doesn't take us there, right? It almost feels like that hold on is like a pre-chorus, but we're just kind of expecting something, and it just never delivers on that impact. So that's kind of what I'm saying with the overall melodic arrangement. It's it didn't lift, it just didn't get there for me. So yeah, so that's kind of like where I'm at with that. But all in all, I think it's a great start. I think overall the collaboration is great. I love seeing Beta category members collaborate with one another. I love it being, where you guys are really helping and encouraging one another to kind of hit their, because I'm reading here, Dave would really push you to get the best possible vocal, and that's great, man. And I really love that Dave is doing that. So all right, next one, Faded Elevation. Here we go. Really cool. I kind of dive in maybe like a minute and change in to get the general vibe. So yeah, I think there's a lot of cool elements, and I'm noticing that it's almost like there's a lot of things, and it's totally fine that sections move to other different types of sections. I actually like that little 4 on the floor break that you did there. I thought, because I think that was the moment where a lot of things felt like they were imbalanced with one another. The kick drum was in a good spot, along with the atmospheric pads and that main heavy bass lead that you had going on there. I thought in that section, that's where everything kind of felt like, okay, yeah, they're all gelling well with one another. In the section before it, the previous, like, I guess it would be like the main, where the drums come in and the bass synth, everything's a little bit disproportionate and unbalanced volume wise. I thought the drums were just a little bit weak, and so what you could do is maybe just bring them a little bit more to the forefront, or saturate them a bit. They just feel like they could really use so it could really just use the help of just some saturation, just some boldness that kind of help it stick out in the mix. So yeah, I thought that was good. that's what it was. Like if I go back to that section here where you had, yeah, so it just seems like there's no like overall message or melodic theme, right? Like where, like the one thing that everything revolves around. So that's what I'm looking for. It's like what's the melodic motif that is being played throughout here, because you've got a lot of great little pockets of ideas, and what you're doing is you're kind of just stitching them together, and that's okay. And again, guys, most of what I'm saying falls in line with my preference, rather than principle. If there's some things that fall in line with principle, that would be like, hey, that thing's out of tune, or you've got things that are not quantized, like certain things like yeah, you got to fix that. So some of this really lies into my preference, where I'm like, well, I would have liked something more cohesive, and I'm kind of treating this as if you were submitting it to a record label or to somebody to listen to. I would tell you, when they reply back to saying, it's not it, maybe these could be the things and the factors that play into why it's not working that way. But I think there's great potential in a lot of these ideas, and in order to gel them together, let's create the overall arching melodic motif, and working on the balance for some of these. For those of you who are just joining us on the live call, first, thank you for joining us. Somebody was just asking, I think Stafarhan, he's asking, how can I send my tracks for you to review? These are Beat Academy members. So if you're interested in becoming a Beat Academy member, definitely visit the website. Take advantage of the current trial that I have, and become a Beat Academy member. That's how you're able to submit some of these songs. And we do this every month. I go through my members' tracks, and I'm helping them achieve their goals. So let's do that. Okay, great. Faded elevation. Okay, I'm glad it was helpful. All right, let's go here.
With you in the night songs, with you in the night songs, with you in the night songs, with you in the night songs. Broken dreams pulled out the seams, your light went out and on you go. This hurt will end, repeat and send, on the road where no one knows. Your heart is out there, emotions on the line. Cause of the feeling, it's harder to define. When we run together, we run out of time. And when we get there, time will not deny.
Real quick, because I just have ADD with this. Okay, so one thing, let's focus on that melody. I think you should rearrange the melody in the sense where you started off with that last night. I think remove that you're starting off with, and jump right in with that verse melody. It has almost that Wonderwall from Oasis type of vibe to it, and it could be really powerful if you just hook us right in with that verse melody. That verse melody is very strong, and it's really good. Let me show you what I'm talking about, guys.
When the night songs, with you in the...
Yeah, so remove that with you in the night songs. I know you probably mean that as a chorus, but if you take that out and just play the riff a couple, like maybe just 2 bars, and start off with don't let it out, because it's got a very cool Oasis, and that the tone, the way you're delivering it's got that Wonderwall feel, and it really becomes like hypnotic, and it's great. And then you go into that so let it, great transition, because you're now elevating, you're going higher in your melodic phrasing, and it really just continues to drag us in. So really good. Then you go into so in a night, because you're going from here, then you elevate. So what we're trying to do with our melodies is that we're trying to create this journey of peaks and valleys. There's this dynamic flow to it, so that it's like, okay, there's a lift, and then there's a dip, and it really just allows us to just kind of flow easily with that melodic train. I think this is great, and if it's just trying to pass off as a piano vocal demo, I think it's great. Now, with the piano, I thought like the intro, you were having the piano somewhat a bit high, like low pass, high pass, where you're only letting the highs pass. The piano seems a bit thin. I thought you were just doing that just for the intro, and then it opens up. That could be a suggestion, where you might have the piano. I would just have the piano open. And what I mean by that is like, don't EQ so much of the low end. If it's just vocal and piano, and believe me, ballads and vocal piano stuff is one of the hardest things to get right, because there's going to be, who's going to be the star here? Usually there'll be the vocal, right? So the vocal is going to be the most dynamic. So you're going to have to create all the spectrum, get the low end from the piano, get the high end from the vocal. And so you're just trying to like balance those two out. Keep the piano open. Don't filter it too much. It seems a little too thin and tinny. But I think all around, really, there's a lot of potential here. So, yeah. I think it's really cool, and if switching that melody around could be really, really big. All right, so let's move on. Moving on to the next one. This is a really good idea, guys. All right, real quick, just because it's right there, and I'll continue listening. But I think one major thing. Now, this is advice falling more on the principle side. Okay, so these are things that, like, yes, red flag. Pay attention to this, and I think it's a really cool idea. I like what you're doing with that pulse bass, but you have to be careful with the fight that's happening between your kick drum and that bass. And this has been an ongoing battle for centuries, right? It's the crusades of the kick and the sub, right? They're always fighting one another. But here, you can kind of hear some of the muddiness that comes when the bass is resonating at a certain point and the kick is playing, and they're really just fighting and wrestling for one another here. So since the bass is really that dominant pulsating melodic moving piece there, I would let the bass handle a lot of the low end. So cut some of that low end from the kick. Let the kick just be more pronounced in the thump and punch of the lower mid section, and let the bass just handle a lot of that low end stuff. You have to be careful though when you start traveling to higher pitched notes on your bass. They resonate in different frequencies. What I mean is they're going to spotlight and peak at certain frequencies that then become problematic in mixing. So that's the thing. It's got to be like, who's gonna win here with that. So I think that's something to keep in mind. So get some rest. You haven't slept in 3 weeks. It was a late night and early morning for me. Thank you for caring for the well-being. I do need some rest. So I think I'm gonna pass out after this call. But anyways, so yeah, focus on that and work on that before moving forward. All right, let's keep going here. not bad for like a little blues instrumental. Um, Honestly, I think it was. I think it wasn't bad at all. Everything was pretty well balanced. I mean, the only thing that's sticking out for me is the the elephant in the room is like the fake electric guitar, right? And so when it comes to like doing a blues instrumental, and when you've got a fake electric guitar in there, it just it's like and that's okay if you're not a great virtuoso on the guitar, or if you're not a blues player on the guitar. um I would find maybe some guitar riff samples or something like that, or I don't know, substitute it for like a synth lead or something like that that can play that melody. But I think and it could be temp. I don't know. This could probably just be like, hey, I just put that down as a rough general idea. I wanted to use that as a guide, and I'm going to replay that as, with a real guitar. So yeah, I thought it was actually pretty well off for the kind of lane that you're vibing in. So pretty good. Keep it up. So cool. All right. So yeah, I thought there was, like kind of here, I'm trying to figure out here. I thought the atmospheres in the beginning were really cool. Loved the drones. Loved everything creeping in there. I thought maybe just a little bit more verb on when the synths come in with the main drums. I thought it was a cool vibe. I actually liked the tone of the kick. The cymbals. I think it's good. I think it's really good potential. Would love to see like, where else we would go vocally with this, if there are supposed to be vocals on this. But there was something here that I think a little bit more atmosphere on that synth that's on the part, that higher part synth, that could maybe use a little bit more atmosphere, so it just gives a bit more depth and dimension in contrast to the drums, because the drums are just so dry. And when you don't have any type of effect processing, such as like that adds dimension like delay or reverb, and it's just dry, then it tends to be much more forward in the mix. And so just consider that, and that's fine. Like the drums could be dry. You could probably just warm them up just a pinch. Maybe just create a drum bus that all the drums are going through, and maybe just use an EQ and just kind of trim a little bit of that high end from there, so it just feels a little bit warmer, since it's going to be dry and in your face. That's more of a personal preference to me. That's where I would have gone, but I think all in all, it's a cool vibe. If you're just joining us now and you're passing through on YouTube and you're chiming in, thank you. I'm excited to have you here. This is something that we normally do with Beat Academy members. We do this a couple times a month, where I'm listening to their tracks and giving them my feedback and helping them take their next step forward. And we're also all growing as a community here, and encouraging one another and reaching our music production goals. So if you're interested and you want to learn, hey, how do I become a part of this? Check out beatacademy.com, become a pro member. Try it out for a month, see if it works for you, and because I hope it does. and I know it will. And there you go. And then you can hang with us in our next call. All right, let's keep going down. We've got Eugen.
I'm a sanctuary for troubled souls. Keeping you close when you wanna go. I'm not the future, I'm the one to call. Keeping you close when you wanna go. The soul's inside.
Cool. So this is similar to like what we were saying earlier in the call. So when we're doubling our lead vocals, I think you did a great job. This is like you're singing out of necessity. Totally get that. And that's how I was earlier on in my career, just making tracks, and I had these vocal melodies, and I just needed to put it down. I hated the way I sounded when I would record my own vocals. So I totally understand where you're coming from. I think most of us we do that. We are our worst critics, especially when we're recording our own vocals. So there's already this there's a negative boundary that we have to pass. There's a wall that we have to break down, and that is a big mental thing. Believe it or not, when it comes to recording and treating our own vocals, we prone to take about maybe like 10 times longer to process and work on our vocals than we do if we were tracking or working on somebody else's vocals. And the reason for that is because mentally we already come to the table with, this thing sucks, I don't like the way I sound. So there's already a negative connotation with our vocals. So believe it or not, you have to kind of leap over the negative mindset that comes with working on your own vocals to begin with. You got to get yourself in that mindset of like, okay, if I need to rehearse this a couple times, if I need to memorize my lyrics, if I need to, let it draw out what you need to grow in when it comes to recording your own vocals. If you record your vocals and you're really, really just like, I don't like the way I sing, I'm not a singer, that's okay. Like, you're just putting melody design down. Hey, let auto-tune and Melodyne be your ultimate friend, right? Auto-tune the crap out of it, because if it's just to put ideas down, that's what it is. It's like, hey, I know I sound like a dying yak exploding on a walrus, but here's a melody, right? That's the best way I can share that melody, is just by humming or singing it, and I put tons of auto-tune on it. All right, so you'll sound like T-Pain. No big deal. But if you're trying to like, no, I want to get better at recording myself and putting those things down, then let the recordings identify those areas that you need to grow in, which is like, okay, maybe I should work better at memorizing my lyrics. Maybe I need to work on picking the right key. All of these things I actually go over in detail in the vocal production course. So as a Beat Academy Pro member, you should have access to all the courses, which, by the way, we just dropped a new sound design ear training course this past week. So definitely check out that for you guys. But yeah, so watch out when you're doubling your vocal, to make sure that the timing is right, that it lines up well, and then yeah, and that's going to be really helpful. So those are some things I just wanted to kind of chime in with. Let's keep going down. We have Cinema for the Blind. Get ready for your mind to melt, or your face to melt, and your mind. All right, here we go. Let's check this out.
Got that rhythm, check, groove, check, dancing, check, shoes, rock it to the moon, rock it to the moon. Rhythm, check, groove, check, dancing, check, shoes, rock it to the moon, power, moves. Roll out whole squad, man, we broke out the building, pushing past every ceiling, straight up, going all life long. Set fire to the present, yeah. Turn the speakers to 11. 7, yeah. Spinning 777, yeah. I got that rhythm, groove, dancing, shows, rock it to the moon, rock it to the moon. Rhythm, groove, dancing, shows, rock it to the moon. Power moves. Check, check, done. Check, check, done. Check, 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 done. Done. Check, check, done. Check, check, done. Check, 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 done. Hey, roll out.
This is by far the best thing you guys have ever done, Cinema. I don't know if you're watching right now. I don't know if you're gonna watch the replay. I'm gonna reach out to you. Huge applause, huge tap, slap, whatever on the back, because you freaking killed it with this one. This is so dope. And I honestly believe, now I want to talk to the overall journey that you've been on since you've been a Beat Academy member, and just hearing you guys grow. I mean, just the enormous amount of growth. It's just been such a blessing to chime in. And I know that we were supposed to link up and things, and it's been crazy. But seeing the amount of growth that I've seen from you guys has just been, it's exponentially just crazy. It's awesome to see that kind of growth and to see where you're at now. From when you first started submitting stuff in Beat Academy, I was just like blown away. So with that, I want to talk more about your artist, like that sound. This is it. Like this is such a dope. This is like sync ready. What I mean by sync ready, this, put this in the portfolio, get this placed on. You see, like even the concept check ready. Like it's such a broad concept. This would be perfect for sync campaigns to be put in TV, advertisement, film, things like that. This is such a great. It'd be a great piece to put in the portfolio to be like, yeah, this can easily find a home for sync opportunities. This is great. So all in all, I don't have like no gripes with anything on the production. I made a couple little things here on the mix stuff, but it says mastered. I don't know if like this is like the fully legit thing. I thought there was I don't know. I'd love to remix this, or maybe possibly give an opportunity for all the Beat Academy members to kind of do a remix of this song, and then we can do like an in-house Beat Academy remix competition of this. So Cinema of the Blind, if you're open for that, let us know. Maybe you could do something where the stems would be available. We can do some remixes. That would be really cool. You'd be surprised with the type of versions you'll have for this. But honestly, as far as who you are as an artist, sonically, your fingerprint, I think you're so in your skin right now. What I've just heard from this is like, yeah, this is the direction. So if you landed somewhere like, I want to do something like this, and I'd be interested to know how easy and organic this vibe came for you guys. So Cinema of the Blind is a band here. It's a duo of Beat Academy members. So if it organic, if you were forcing yourself, if you were bending your arm backwards and this was pulling teeth and tedious for you to get this type of sound, then no, just keep doing what you were doing before. But if this organically just gelled and fell into place together easily, I'd say keep going in this lane. Go in this lane because it really stood out. It was unique. It's you guys, and I really do like it. It's a great vibe. So much talent here in Beat Academy. If you guys are joining us just now, welcome. For those of you in YouTube land, you're joining us in our live call. This is our live listening session. So if you're interested in getting your songs heard by me and all the industry professionals, our last listening call, we had Grammy Award winner for mixing engineer for Amy Winehouse. He chimed in. He was giving some feedback too. Yeah, this is something you really are looking forward to doing, in that mentorship to help you guide you with your music production. Visit beatacademy.com. All right, guys, let's keep on moving. We got Dave Tone here.
wonderfully small, like nothing I do on earth will ever matter at all. Days so long walking this world full of men. You gotta wake up, just do it all again. Tiptoe your way around the edge of it all. Stars fall to the ground. Is dive, yeah, I've been in this life. Is lying beside someone when the love has died, yeah. Lying beside someone when the love has died, yeah. Ooh.
Dave, this is a dope acapella run. I was kind of skimming through to see if there was gonna be a section where you're like, I mean, that's how you would really add this climactic epicness to it. But maybe, hey, you just wanted it straight acapella. That's fine. That's the beauty of being able to just create and produce whatever it is you want to do. It's your vision. I thought it was great having the hums in the back because they give a little bit more support for the lead vocal. I think all around, based on the elements that we have to hear, I think it's fine. I mean, there are only vocals here. I'm not sure if the slap is too much. Does it need it? No, I'm not saying that it needs production to build a climax. I mean, again, if that's on the preference, that's just a different direction artistically that I would go in. You're going here with acapella. That's fine. Let's stick with your vision here, because it's not gonna say it'll make it or break it. It'll put it in another. It'll take it somewhere else, and maybe it might work. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It's whatever it is that you're actually going for. What is it that you're trying to do and going for? So yeah, that's what really matters. It's the overall, where are we headed? What's the goal? What am I striving for with the song? But I think all in all, it's great. Like, very surprised with the overall tone of the vocals, the balance, everything, where it's sitting. And I think, if you're gonna have it mastered, I think the mastering process will help do any fine tweaking that needs to be done with that. So yeah, great job, Dave. Great. I mean, there's really good potential here, Ralph, especially with that vocal. I don't know if it's a vocal sample pack but just even the line and the phrasing it's pretty good. So I think the one thing that's kind of getting a little bit blurry is that the delay that's being added to the vocal, that response, I think it's getting a little too washed out. And so one way that I normally do that is I have the vocal, the vocal, and then I have an auxiliary return track with a delay. Let's say maybe a quarter note, or in this case, for this tempo, I would probably do it at an eighth note with a little bit more feedback, and maybe set it to a ping pong delay. So I'm having that vocal bounce back and forth to the left and right. But what I would do is, in certain words, I would automate the send. So I would automate and draw in that the send goes up, at a certain time, like tonight, maybe just put it up for that moment and then bring it back down so that it's throwing that vocal over to the delay. Some people call it a throw delay. So it's throwing the vocal up, and so you hear the effect of that, and that'll help. You can also try, if you're going to have a delay, so I don't know if you're putting the delay on directly the vocal track, because that's what it kind of feels like. It's really just a little bit muddied up. So doing that can be helpful, because then you have a more clarity with the lead vocal, and then you want to also filter the delayed signal so that's not getting in the way. So you want to cut off some of the low end. So I love the Ableton Live Echo plugin because it has the built-in EQ in there already, where you can kind of filter out the delayed signal. But that can be an easy fix if you're in Logic or any other DAW. Just put an EQ after the delay, and then just go and kind of, EQ some of that out so that all the high end and all the low end isn't getting in the way and blurring up that. I thought that was just kind of like the main thing that was sticking out here. And then just more of the vocal. I'm assuming it's like a vocal pack, because you're only same phrases that we're going over and over in certain parts. But if that's all you got, then work it right. We need more time. So then let that be the main focal thing. If you've got just a couple syllables, a couple phrases that you're using, this is really this is usually done a lot in EDM and house. They'll have like this main phrase, and they'll play it. So if that's all you got, then the way you milk it, the way you actually you sprinkle that throughout. It could be coming in filtered, so pick one part there with some rhythmic presence, and then just kind of filter it in to give us a little taste of it, but then like filter it out. And you could use certain things like that don't give away the whole phrase, but yet introduce it and let us know that there's a vocal here and it's a major part of the song, rather than the vocal being a afterthought. So that's how you could treat that. A couple of the sounds, I thought the bass sound was pretty good. I thought like definitely nailed in the vibe of the synthwave stuff. I think maybe just balancing out the drums and those synths a little together, balancing them out could be helpful. All right, let's keep on going. Here we are in Gamone. Gamone. All right.
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my life and realize there's nothing left. Cause I've been blessed and alive been so long that even my mama thinks that my mind is gone. But I ain't never crossed a man that did deserve it. Me be treated like a punk, that's the head up. You better watch how you're talking and where you're walking, or you and your homies might be lying in chalk. I really had the trip, but I got a luck. As the croak, I see myself in the pistol smoke. Ooh, I'm the kind of G the little homies wanna be like, on my knees in the night, saying prayers in the street low.
Been spending most of lives living in the gangster's paradise. I've been spending most of lives living in the gangster's paradise. I keep spending most of lives living in the gangster's paradise. I keep spending most of lives living in the gangster's paradise.
Look at the situation they got me facing. I can live a normal life. I was raised by the streets, so I gotta be down with the hoodie. Too much television watching got me chasing dreams.
Yo, so the idea and the vibe is dope. So the vocal, we got to be careful with that. First of all, I don't know if the vocal came with that chorusy effect. It's weird. It's like a mono chorus, because when I'm switching to my mono, it's like it stayed there. It's way dominating, right? So it's way above everything. It feels like you had your 2-track, you had your instrumental, and it feels like you just put the vocal on top of that rather than being mixed with everything in there. So so they feel too detached from one another, right? And so I think the way you could do that is that you see if you can mix the vocal within the session, and then be able to once you do that, you'd be able to get a more balance of that. Now, I don't know if you're putting the effect on that vocal where it's like a chorus effect or something, but it's a bit too drastic, and it's causing, it's just causing it to do something in the middle that is just, I don't know, it's just really becoming distracting. Same thing with the drop. I think, you don't have to, since it's going, it's just that section there. I think maybe just a tad of that, and you could just try using, instead of inserting the plugin directly onto the vocal, using a return track where you have your vocal and then you're sending a little bit of the vocal over to the effect, and you're kind of blending and balancing that out. I would try that, maybe like a slap delay rather than a big reverb, or directly putting the chorus that's on there. But all in all, I thought that the vibe was really cool. I think this is a really cool vibe. So yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. So for those of you guys who are just joining us in our live call here, I want to say thank you and welcome. We don't normally do this publicly, but we do this often, a couple times a month, where I'm listening to Beat Academy members' music and giving them my feedback, and we're all learning together as a community here. So if you're interested and you're like, hey, I would love for you to submit your music and give feedback on your music, and if you're interested in that, then visit beatacademy.com and become a Beat Academy member today. Let's keep going. We have some now. So I'm really bad with these names. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so I think sound selection on this is good. I think you've got good sound selection now. It's just about just creating the balance, right? So think about it, when you're going straight to those verse parts, or the the stripped down parts, was just the drums, boom, boom, right? Drums have to be just in your face. Those are the only, that and the bass, they got to be the charge there. They have to be the elements that lead the charge. So maybe just a bit saturation with the overall drum bus to kind of help it just give a little bit more oomph and punch in the upfront mix. I didn't worry about the volume. You know why? Because I can just crank up the volume on my interface. I'm like, oh, it's too low. That's not the case here, because you're not really judging by the loudness of it. I just want to see the overall balance of the elements that you do have. Do they make sense? So yeah, I think good stuff with the strings. You know what would be helpful with the strings, to give it a little bit more movement, and this is helpful when you're using fake strings. I mean fake strings in the sense that they're not recorded strings, is just a little bit of flange. I love using just a pinch of flanger on a return track with the strings, because then it just gives this otherworldly movement, and it just kind of glosses the strings well. It's like, okay, I'm not using real strings, but when I put flange on these strings, now you feel like, okay, I get that you're not using real strings, and I like these fake strings better. So try messing a little bit of flange with the strings and see what it does. But all in all, I thought it was good. Just figure out the balance between the drums and the bass and bring them up a little bit more in that section. All right, let's keep going, Kevin.
Step in the booth.
Yeah, so I think like this has got really good bones here, and it's not that far off. So you feel like you're 80% done, and I think the extra 20% that's gonna help get this across the finish line is really crafting out the balance. It's not adding more, and as a matter of fact, I think it might just be taking away would actually help you get across the finish line. So at the very beginning, you've got a lot of issues going on the low end stuff, and just check, like, you might want to start off the song with no low end presence so that when it does come in, there's more of that contrast. And I think overall, I think that's what needs to happen, is just more the tension between the contrast of less and, like, for instance, like, there's so much excitement going on here that when we get to the drop, it kind of just doesn't go there. It kind of plateaus. You've already kind of introduced a higher energy level here with the vocal and everything here in this section. You know what I'm saying? Like, you took it all the way to 10 here, and then when you get to the drop, you kind of just stay at 10, or you actually went down to like 9 or 8. So it's balancing that out in the sense where there's more contrast to help lift the chorus or the drop section, and you do that by stripping or taking things away from the intro. And I get the temptation is you want to just throw a lot of stuff in the beginning to get people's attention, but no, just create a dynamic journey, right? So watch out with the low end elements that you've got going on in the very beginning. There's a lot of rumbling and stuff happening there, so be mindful of that. And then remember, if the drop is where everybody's just going to go, oh snap, and lose their minds, have great contrast before that drop happens. So maybe just like, and just cutting that out so it's not lingering through the drop as well. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense to everybody in the chat? I know that somebody was asking for feedback on it. So right now we're just this is what I do for my Beat Academy members. We listen to their music, giving their feedback right now. If you're interested in joining us, check out beatacademy.com. All right, Dave says yes. It makes sense. All right. Kip, good to see you. All right, let's keep moving. Yeah, so aside from turning the clap down a little bit, I think there's some really cool potential here. There's some really cool, but it's a good vibe, right? So now I think it's a matter that what's really going to help you in going from creating this cool vibe into a fully arranged song is the process of incorporating a reference into your project. So this is going to allow you to get more of a compass and guiding you as to where you want to go, when to introduce other elements, when to take things away, and things like that. So I think what will be beneficial for you, Brando, is to put a track that you're vibing with and that's kind of similar to the track you're doing as a reference, and put it into your project, and then study it and be like, okay, what are they doing in the intro? They play that riff for 2 bars and then they come in with the drums. Okay, I can kind of do the same thing. What are they doing for the next 8 bars? Oh, they bring in a hi-hat. Great. That way you understand and you start to become familiar with the arrangement flow and the arrangement process and where to take your ideas from. So that can be helpful, and you do that until it becomes second nature and becomes natural for you now to realize in your regular workflow, like, okay, cool, now I know more or less when to transition to the next section, or what to introduce, or what to take away. So I think that'd be really helpful for you. And yeah, bring the clap down, please, just a little bit. All right, let's keep going. We have Construct Productions. Influenced, huh? Nah, it's good. It's good. So yeah, one thing I noticed that when I'm checking my mix in mono here, I noticed that guitar, the air, or the room just completely disappears, and the guitar just becomes really thin. So I think one thing could be very beneficial for you is to check this mix in mono. Use a mono plugin, or I don't know where you're at, if you're using Pro Tools or Ableton. You could use a utility or something that allows you to just put the mix in mono and then get a better idea of, watch what happens when you go into mono. Listen back to this, go to mono, and check out the difference between the guitar in stereo and in mono. It like almost disappears in mono. So when you're in mono, you want to get a balance of like, okay, well, the guitar's really, really low here, but when I hear it in stereo, it's really, really loud. Well, what's going on? Well, it's because the elements that are going to the side, the information that's going to the side is dominantly louder. And so what you need to do is then, when you're mixing in mono, what can you drive the mid stuff up front to help balance that out? And then you could use something like a mid-side EQ that can kind of just eliminate or bring the volume down to the side information of the guitar. Or if you have it panned hard, panned right, the information on the right side can come down. It's just a great way to balance out overall. So, excuse me. That's one thing that can really be beneficial and helpful for you. All right. We're gonna go through a couple. We're at 20. I'm gonna go down here for a second, and then we'll go back up. Hey, so it's a pretty good deal. I actually like that little section here that with the breakdown. That was good. The synths that you have, the main synths could use a little bit of widening here. So that's something where like maybe some reverb with some pre-delay turned up so that the synth is more in the front. Then you hear the reverb splash a little bit later. Also, some chorus could be very beneficial and helpful in widening that up. I do agree with somebody that just posted that the transition just felt a little lackluster. And I think also you can benefit from using a reference inside your project as well, as it can guide you as to how you can build contrast from one section to the next. And that's very important. And essentially what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build tension and release. And a great way of doing that is contrasting one section of a song from the other. So you have this breakdown, right? You have these synths that are happening here. Right, so it doesn't feel like a cohesive transition. So you've got this cool synth riff, then the piano comes in, great. But then do some anticipating, some building up, and then just go all in bass, synths, and piano with the kick drum for a while. Like that should be it. So you're building up this tension, and the payoff goes right where all the items come in to play. So I think that's very important that we get into when you're working on stuff like this. It's really, sound selection is very important, but just as important as understanding the overall dynamics of the arrangement. That's very important too. And you know, when you're using vocal samples, especially if you're getting them from YouTube or something, you got to be careful that a lot of those artifacts from the compression of the vocal don't come through, because it just sounds like, you know, it just doesn't sound that good. So, all right, here we go.
Sometimes it seems maybe we won't know. Can you feel my heart? Baby, I want more. To find a plan, we're believing. Maybe you're the one. Hold my hand from now. Listen to me when you hold my hand. Hold my hand from now. Listen to me, maybe I won't know. Hey, find someone, said I'll be there. Maybe it's so. Hold my hand to the end.
So this is where the melody here is really strong. Your melodic phrasing. I mean, you're saying sorry for you're not a native speaker. You did great. Regardless of you not being a native speaker, I think like if you were to sing this song and you walked up to a piano and you just started playing the chords and sang the melody, it stands on its own. So with that being said, then everything else that is weak then becomes a distraction. Usually it's the other way around, where the instrumental is powerful, but then you have the weak vocal melody, and then that's like everybody's just staring at that. I think this is the other way around. Vocal melody is great. Love the chorus. Hold my hand from now. Oh, I mean, this just needs to beef up on the production. Granted, that's why you're here in Beat Academy, right? Okay, so what are some basic practical things that you could do to help that? Similar to what I was just saying from the previous two listens, let's put a reference track in your project. Let's study that. I think some of the sound selections are good. They complement the overall mood that you're trying to do with the song. I think mostly that the drums are a bit too dry, right? So they come across, they just cut straight through in the mix. So this, it feels like a good demo, right? Like, okay, this is just a demo vibe. I'm trying to get the production on point. And I know this could be the most frustrating thing, where you have the vocal melody, you've got this idea for a song, the production is lacking, and it's like, how do I get it to the finish line? One thing I would strongly recommend, especially with vocal this strong, is collaborate. Collaborate right now with some of those here in the community that can kind of help you with some of those missing puzzle pieces in the production things. Rather than just say, okay, now I have to wait and beef up the production skills before this can be released. No, I mean, you can collaborate, link your arms to some other person who's stronger on the production side, and then you guys are benefiting from both of your strengths as they're supporting both of your weaknesses. Okay, so that's one thing I'm going to encourage you to do. And then two, just this is where maybe even certain things like the benefits of like sound packs and some loops that are already kind of processed that can be helpful, so that the burden isn't so much on you and trying to figure out how to get the balance of the drums right, the sounds of all the synths right. But I think there's a lot of great potential here just because of the strength and the power of the actual vocal melody. So really, really good. Let's go over here. Actually, we'll start at 32 and work our way down. So somebody in the chat was asking, hey, I think this Marcos is asking, how often do I do this? Well, I do this twice a month for my Beat Academy members, where I'm listening to their music, giving feedback. We also do this session where I'll take some of their ideas and actually build a track from scratch. We also have leading industry professionals chime in. They'll give their feedback as well. We have some amazing guests coming up in our next couple calls. So if this is something that you're looking for, the accountability, the community, the mentorship, the guidance, and with your music, then visit beatacademy.com, become a Beat Academy Pro member today, and let's get to work. All right, here we go.
Rain patters against the window.
So skip it to surprise here with like it's really good bones here. Let me focus on.
Patters against the rain, patters against the window.
So I thought just some of the phrasing could be adjusted. So when you're doing like that intro part there, you 3, 2, and rain bits upon the window, right? So we'd have to just kind of adjust that rain patterns around the windows, like the rain keeps dripping on the window, right? Because even the word patterns is weird because of the syllables. So you can do something that replaces that rain keeps falling on my window, and that right there is a better cadence. So you have to be very careful with the cadence and deliveries. I know that's something that has to get used to, especially when English is not like your native language. But yeah, it is an overall good vibe. And believe it or not, those little things, just tweaking the words around so that it fits rhythmically, plays a huge, huge role in changing something from an okay melody to a great melody. So if you're going 1, 2, rain keeps falling on my window. 1, 2, 3, take me on a ride again. Right? That's a stanza. That's a phrase. Singing a world, right? Down below. Then you can finish it with, cause rain keeps falling down my window. That's your whole stanza there. You saw how you're repeating the first two, the A, B, and then you have another melodic tweak there, and then you go back with the A, and then you complete that whole stanza there. So that's just something, again, those are things that reference tracks in your projects can be really helpful in identifying. But all in all, I think really good job. The guitar stuff is cool. I know you're just putting it there for like maybe temp, but maybe try replacing or layering that guitar sound with the like maybe just like a grittier synth. That can help. It's just the thing is with me, like with fake guitars, it's just like, man, they're so fake, and it just comes off. I'm like, oh man. So there. I mean, look, the native instruments I use Native Instruments, Electric Sunburst, and the guitar plugins there. They're phenomenal. It sounds great. But when it comes to like the power chord stuff and distortion, it always just sounds a little weird to me. So, but yeah. All right, let's keep on moving. We're gonna go with. I think this is phenomenal for sync, for a licensing opportunity. I think the thing that really is kind of sticking out like a sore thumb is the vocal chop melody that you have going on. Now, I don't know if it's if it's just temp for a actual vocal melody that's gonna go on top of there, but I almost wouldn't have it. It was cool when it first came in. There was a couple of chops you did here at the, and that was it. I would just keep it like that. Right? Excuse me. So yeah, having that vocal chop, just doing a melodic pattern there, it kind of just brings the energy down a little bit from the track. So I would just keep it empty, sparse, just keep it there. And if you are doing this, if you're gonna keep it like that and you're not putting vocals on there, then yeah, I would remove that, because with sync licensing opportunities, music supervisors and music editors are gonna want a version without that anyways. They're gonna be like, look, it's a bit too distracting. Let's just get a bare stripped down version of the instrumental. So yeah, have that. Maybe just a couple words or two that you could throw in there, like so all right, or something like that, that can just be thrown in there. Maybe a vocal sample that can kind of be thrown in. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't need it. But yeah, just be mindful of the vocal melody. All right, we'll do 4 more. Let me go back to the 20 that I mentioned up here. So I just want to stop there. I think because your question is the song structure recognizable. Yes and no. One thing that's sticking out is the little chord stabs that we have here. It's like it's kind of going all over the place. So it seems a bit scatterbrained to me here. So be careful with the chord stabs you got there. I think there's actually a couple notes that are a little bit off, and not on there. I thought at the beginning, I think that's the main vibe right there, right? So yeah, you can keep the beat going and then just filter out the main melodic synth that's happening. It's I know that the temptation is there that when you have sparse elements like that you want to then go to a sporadic new moment, something that just kind of be like, well, wow, let's go over here and do. And look, reality is you can do anything you want, right? You can go to those places, but you want to create a structure that is somewhat, it follows a bit of a DNA or the pattern that can help the listener kind of go on that journey. So yeah, just try putting some beats and some tracks into your session that you're using as reference that can kind of help guide you to identify like, oh, okay, cool, maybe go to a section like this after 16 bars or something like that. So I think that can be very beneficial for you. All right, let's keep going. Now, if you're joining us on the call here and you're asking, hey, how do I get my music heard? When did this start happening? Well, I've been doing this. This is a part of the Beat Academy membership. When you become a Beat Academy Pro member, you get access to these listening sessions. I'm giving feedback on your music, helping you move forward with that. And we're also, we do this a couple of times a month. There's also a lot of collaborative opportunities here that happen in the Beat Academy. So if you, if you're interested, you want to get your music heard, check out beatacademy.com and try it out. Here we go. Real quick, because I know you're focusing on the drum stuff here. So yes, I mean this is how important sound selection can be, right? It can make or break a record sometimes. So yeah, let's talk about the snare elephant in the room. So the snare, I think, is just over dominating. But here's the thing: it could be like, well, that's what we're going for, right? So this does borderline a little bit on the personal preference. I would have probably gone with, a snare that doesn't have that much of a tail in there. And if you're struggling, it's like, look, man, I've been going through different types of drums. It just doesn't feel right. I just don't know where to go. It could be worth the time and investing just cycling through different types of drum kits. Maybe trying with this a rim knock or seeing how that works. Like where how can maybe not even just a drum, maybe it could be just like a snap or something else, and experimenting with those different type of auxiliary percussions that could be very beneficial. Maybe even a whole different stepping out of a live acoustic drum environment. Maybe what if we had just a tight 808 kick and a tight 808 snare? What would that do? Because the way you look at it is like this: small tiny drums lets everything else in the track become bigger. Big drums lets everything else in the track become smaller. So what is it that you want? If you want the elements in the back to be smaller, then the drums are going to be big. But again, the big snare is, and it's almost like the tail is, I think it's like embedded in the sample of the sample, instead of it being like a reverb that you're adding. Now, the snare actually kind of works well in the chorus section. I love how you're panning the acoustic on the left. Like, you're panning stuff. Things are good. And I think sometimes, like, when you listen to everything in the chorus section everybody's in, the snare kind of fits well. It makes sense. And that's oftentimes a mistake I make, where I get a blend of everybody that's together, and then when I head to the intro and the chorus and I take my drums at the level and the elements that they are there, they're like, it's too big, or it's too busy, or it's just too bold. So it might need to be two different snares. Like, you got the snare that opens up in the chorus with the big tail, and then you start off with like a drier rim knock or something, right? Something very dry and intimate, and then you can just open up to a big snare and during the chorus, and that's totally fine too. So does that make sense? Can you guys let me know in the chat if that makes sense? You could just type the letter Y or N. Yes if it makes sense, no if it doesn't, L if, I don't know, looks like I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I was throwing a random word there. All right. Shagay says yes. Sí, señor. ¿Cómo no? Aquí nosotros estamos chileando. Okay, cool. Wait, L. No! All right. So we'll wrap up with three more. Did I do this one already? We're going to do... We'll do these two, and I'll go up there. Oh man, it's interesting. I wasn't totally expecting that. So I think here the arrangement, I would have started with that riff that you have going on here. So that's the main guy, right? So start off with him, and you start off with like a combination of all these other elements. Just start off with him, and just start building off of that, so that when we get into that drop part, everything just levels up that much more with the excitement. So just start off with just kind of like just chilling. Maybe a hi-hat comes in, and just building up. So yeah, it's all about building that tension, right? You don't necessarily have to give everything away from the beginning. So just start kind of incorporating that main riff, that main element, and start building up. Again, especially with EDM and house or any type of dance track like this, references are such an essential key to locking in the mystery of like, okay, what should be going in, or what should I be taking out. So yeah, I think that can really help and benefit you in locking that in. Yeah, let's check out the key 146. All right, so interesting chord progression. Really interesting. I'm like, oh, okay. Very mysterious, very interesting. But hey, tomato, tomato. Let me spend a little talk on the 808 kick and kind of getting it a little bit pronounced. So the 808 is just getting a little lost in the kick here. One way to really help 808s and kick and just unify and just glue them together and just get a nice punch is with harmonic distortion. So using distortion on a kick, such as maybe like an amp simulator, or try experimenting with a little bit of overdrive and just blending them and seeing how much presence you get from the sub. Then when you amplify, when you're adding some of that distortion to the sub, it becomes more pronounced and it has a lot more body. That's when you start to carve out space between the kick drum. So it really comes down to who's going to have the punch. You can have the punch come from the kick, so just take a little bit of that low end away and let the sub lift there. You can add the extra harmonic distortion onto the 808 so that it builds the body. And then you have this nice seamless connection between the sub and the low mid of the kick, and they're living harmoniously with one another. Then you can saturate the two of them together, add a little bit of saturation together, and that's where you get that nice pronounced presence and overall punchiness from both the sub and the kick. So it's something there to keep in mind. We're gonna wrap up with Diego F, and I hope that makes sense with that, and then we'll take it from here.
Imaginé volverte a encontrar. Sé que te juré que no volvería a llamar. Desde esa noche en aquel bar te he buscado por toda esta ciudad. Tienes un nuevo lunar y otra mano que tomar. Todo está en gris desde que no estás. En mí ya no piensas más, pero de mi mente no te vas. No, no te vas, no. Dime que no es el final, que no son de guardar los besos que no te pude dar. ¿Qué hago con esta canción que nunca vas a escuchar? Dime que ya no te vas. Aún oigo tu voz como en ese día de febrero. No vas a regresar.
There's some really dope stuff in here that's going on melodically. Me encanta eso. I mean, this is a Spanish saying. I like it. I like it. And what's going on here is, again, this is kind of the theme overall throughout this call, is this idea of building up the right type of contrast to get there. It was like almost as if the pre was a lot more hype than the actual chorus itself. And that happens with me too. Sometimes I get like, sometimes I really get this feeling like the pre is just this awesome place I went to with my song, and then when I get to the chorus, it's like, man, I spent all my energy in the pre-chorus. So yeah, it was a bit lackluster when it went to that section, and it could have all been just in the decision of where to go rhythmically, because you transition. You're going to this 4 on the floor in the pre to build tension.
Y otra mano que tomar. Todo está en grises de que no estás. En mí ya no piensas más, pero de mi mente no te vas.
I mean, that part is so good. That part is so catchy because of the rhythmic cadence that she's doing. I mean, it's like, yo, okay. Like, I bet that when everybody listened, while you were listening, when you got to that section, that's when the light turned on, right? Let me know in the chat, yes or no. When we got to the pre, like kind of my ears perked up. I was like, okay, like this is, I don't, and for some of you who don't know Spanish, you were like, I don't know what she's saying, but the vibe and the cadence drew me in. Let me know in the chat if that happened to you. So you can see how you pull people in, but then when you go into another transition,
Dime que no es el final. Que
it just like it's like I don't know. It was almost as if like that pre was so much it glued us, and then when it went down, that's what it did. It went down. So I don't know if the pre is the chorus, right? Yeah. And someone's suggesting I would switch up the patterns, and maybe you won't have the same effect and the same cadence. So this is where that songwriting, this is where like going back to the drawing board, it's like, okay, you know, the chorus isn't really hitting. What we thought was the chorus isn't really the chorus, or it's worth kind of going back to the very foundation and the bones of the song. The way I like to do this is if I strip this down and I just played the melody on a piano. So if I went to a piano and played this melody, how well does just the melody carry me through the arrangement? Does that make sense? So if you go, and you could tell, where's the melody taking me if it was just you and the piano or you and the guitar, right? And I think that's a really good litmus test, that you just go straight to 1-on-1. Bring the ratio down to just piano and vocal. Will the melody of that vocal carry you through? Does it take you to those peaks and valley? If it feels like when you're singing with the piano and the vocal alone that there's a section that it dips, then you know more or less, okay, something's happening here where we need to fix, tweak, or transition somewhere else. Let me go back to that verse again, the melody.
me imaginé volverte a encontrar. Sé que te juré que no volvería a llamar. Desde esa noche en aquel.
And it could also be too that verse is dragging a little bit. So if you're going, I would have like come up with something that would brought a little bit more maybe even a little bit more sparse, just because there's a lot of held out notes there. So right, see, so you see how that's playing off of the rhythm that you're doing there. So if you're doing right, you're playing with the actual rhythm that's there. You're doing the call and response, and that can help with the melodic movement a lot more than trying to do this long held out legato runs that you're doing there. But again, that's just kind of like messing around with it, coming up with a different just marinating with the track and the song for a little bit. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. And so, guys, thank you so much for those of you who are joining us, who are just strolling through YouTube. You're jumping on this call. Thank you. And if you're watching the replay on YouTube, I also want to thank you for watching. What we do here is I listen to my Beat Academy members' music, and we're giving feedback. And if this is something you feel like, man, I could really grow from opportunities like this, then I want to encourage you to visit beatacademy.com. Check it out. Try the pro membership. Not only do you get access to moments like this, but you have access to this great community. Also, all the resources that we have available for the courses. I just dropped an ear training sound designing course this week that you definitely should look out for. So yeah, and there's many opportunities here, mentorship opportunities. As a matter of fact, I just posted a project for a sync campaign recently, and it looks like the client is leaning towards some of the submissions from my Beat Academy members. So really excited about that. I say all this because I'm really encouraged and excited to see my Beat Academy members win. So if you want to be a part of that, visit beatacademy.com, become a pro member today, and let's do this. Guys, thank you so much for this call. This was great. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.